The legend of the shade. The whispers always start faint, almost like the wind playing tricks. But soon, they grow louder, circling the listener, coming from everywhere at once. By the time the victim senses danger, it's too late. This is the story of the shade, a shadowy figure whose legend has haunted the city of Havensbrook for decades. First whispered in the dark corners of the city in the 1950s, the tale has grown into a mix of cautionary folklore and chilling truth. In 1957, Havensbrook was rocked by a series of brutal, unsolved murders. Victims were found in alleys, their faces frozen in terror. Strange symbols etched near their bodies baffled authorities. Witnesses reported chilling whispers following them in the dead of night. Though dismissed as hysteria, the murders were never solved, and the legend of the shade grew. Over time, similar stories emerged worldwide. Japan's Cage, No Yami and Germany's Shattered Monen tell of shadowy figures that prey on the unwary. Some suggest these legends share a universal fear of the dark and the unknown. Locals like historian Margaret Bell share eerie accounts, while skeptics blame wind or imagination. Yet, unexplained disappearances persist, and whispers of recent murders stir new fears. In Havensbrook, silence is fleeting. The whispers always return, lurking, waiting for their next victim.
The first body was discovered on a quiet Monday morning, tucked away in a dark alley off Havensbrook's main shopping district. Sam Richards, a well-liked bartender, had left work late the previous night, cutting through the alley to reach his apartment. He never made it home. A dog walker found his body at dawn, sprawled on the cold concrete, his face frozen in terror. Sam's body was contorted unnaturally, as if fleeing from an invisible force. His hands were bloody, nails broken, clawing at the ground. On a nearby wall, an intricate symbol was carved deliberate and precise, defying immediate identification. Stranger still, residents reported faint whispers that night, though no one could pinpoint their origin. Security footage captured no movement, only eerie murmurs growing louder before abruptly stopping. Enhanced audio revealed whispers in no identifiable language, low, overlapping, and chillingly distant. 2 weeks later, Megan Harris, a schoolteacher, was found under similar circumstances. The same symbol marked the scene, and whispers were reported again. By the time a third victim, taxi driver Peter Darnell, was discovered, the city was gripped by panic. The murders, cryptic symbols, and whispers drew comparisons to the legend of the shade, blurring lines between myth and chilling reality. The murders, gripping Havensbrook, left Detective Lisa Morell with more questions than answers. A seasoned investigator, Lisa had solved dozens of cases, but this one defied logic. Each crime scene shared the same haunting elements: victims found in dark alleys, cryptic symbols carved into walls, and faint whispers captured on audio recordings. The victims appeared unconnected, and the evidence refused to form a coherent picture. Lisa, usually calm and methodical, felt a growing unease as the case deepened. Joining Lisa was Detective Daniel Torres, a younger, sharp-minded officer known for thinking outside the box. Daniel approached the case differently, diving into the city's history and urban legends. "This isn't just a psychopath," he told Lisa. "The whispers, the symbols it feels, deliberate, almost ritualistic. What if there's something bigger at play?" Lisa dismissed the supernatural angle at first, but couldn't ignore the unsettling patterns emerging. The investigation expanded as experts on folklore and the paranormal were brought in. Dr. Elena Sinclair, a folklorist, pointed out parallels between the case and myths from other cultures. Legends like the shade often reflect deep-seated fears, she explained. But when those legends coincide with real events, it gets murky. Are the murders inspired by the story, or is the story evolving into something real? Cryptozoologist Dr. Grant McAllister added a chilling perspective. Descriptions of shadowy entities like this exist worldwide. It could be psychological, but if the killer believes they're channeling something supernatural, that belief might be driving their actions. A breakthrough came when Lisa uncovered a file from 1957 detailing a similar string of unsolved murders. The symbols, whispers, and even the victim profiles were identical. Detective William Harlow, who worked on the case, kept a journal documenting his growing paranoia. He wrote of hearing whispers in his home and feeling an unseen presence stalking him. His last entry read, "It's here. If I disappear, they'll know it wasn't my choice." Harlow vanished the next day, his body never found. The parallels between past and present were undeniable, and Lisa felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The case seemed to take a toll on everyone involved. One detective, James Carter, went missing without a trace. A cryptic note was found in his apartment that simply read, "It's here." Lisa tried to push forward, but Daniel began to voice concerns that the case itself might be cursed. Every detective who had worked on similar murders over the decades had either disappeared or died under mysterious circumstances. Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching them. Files disappeared, recordings were corrupted, and shadows seemed to flicker where none should be. As the whispers grew louder, Lisa realized the line between myth and reality was blurring. Whether it was a killer using fear as a weapon or the legend of the shade itself come to life, she knew one thing: this case was different, and it might claim her next. Not many lived to tell a story about the shade, but Mark Hadley, a 28-year-old mechanic, was one of the rare exceptions. Known for his hard-working nature and love for late-night walks, Mark never imagined the quiet streets he often used to unwind would become the setting for his worst nightmare. That night began like any other. After staying late at the shop to finish a repair, Mark decided to walk home. The streets were deserted, the cool air punctuated only by the glow of sporadic streetlights casting long shadows. Turning into a familiar alley, he heard a sound soft at first, like the wind. But it grew louder, more distinct. Whispers. Low, overlapping, and impossible to locate, they seemed to envelop him. His heart pounded as the whispers intensified. At the alley's far end, he saw it, a figure shrouded in shadow, its edges blending with the darkness. Its faintly glowing eyes, like dying embers, locked onto him. Frozen in terror, Mark watched as the figure glided closer, moving unnaturally, like it was part of the shadows themselves. Adrenaline surged, and Mark fled, the whispers deafening in his ears. He didn't stop until he reached the safety of a well-lit street, collapsing in fear. When he looked back, the alley was empty, but the whispers lingered, echoing in his mind. Mark's account sent shockwaves through Havensbrook. Skeptics dismissed it as fear-fueled imagination, while others believed he'd encountered a killer using the shade legend as cover. The police found no evidence, no footprints, no security footage. Yet, Mark's trauma was undeniable. Sleepless nights, recurring nightmares, and paranoia marked his days. For Detective Lisa Morrell, Mark's story deepened the mystery. Was the shade a person preying on fear, or something far darker? Mark's survival offered no clarity, only proof that the whispers were real. The city of Havensbrook was suffocating under fear. Whispers were no longer rumors, they had become an oppressive reality for anyone venturing into the shadows. For Detective Lisa Morrell, the case had consumed her, stripping away sleep, peace, and belief in logic. After Survivor, Mark Hadley's harrowing account and mounting evidence linking the murders to decades-old cases, Lisa knew there was only one choice left: face the shade head-on. Lisa and Detective Daniel Torres devised a dangerous plan, a stakeout in the alley of the latest murder, using themselves as bait. Mark insisted on joining them, despite his trauma. "I know what I saw," he said. Paranormal consultant Dr. Elena Sinclair also joined, armed with ancient texts she believed could expose or repel the entity. The night was eerily silent. Hours passed before the whispers began faint, then louder, overlapping voices from all directions. The air grew cold. Lisa's flashlight trembled as a shadowy figure emerged, absorbing the light. Its ember-like eyes pierced the darkness. "That's it," Mark whispered, paralyzed with fear. Dr. Sinclair stepped forward, reciting an incantation. The whispers faltered briefly before surging back louder. The figure dissolved into shadows, engulfing the group. Commands were drowned out by the deafening voices. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The alley was empty. No footprints, no evidence. The figure was gone. The murders ceased after that night. Some hailed the team as heroes. Others whispered they had survived an encounter with the supernatural. Lisa never spoke publicly, forever changed by the experience. Mark moved away, unable to endure the city's shadows. Dr. Sinclair theorized that myths like the Shade stem from real, unexplainable phenomena. Was the Shade a master manipulator or a being beyond comprehension? The truth remains as elusive as the whispers themselves.